Hello folks, Jason Chrisman, JC's Bees, Central Ohio beekeeper. Boy, it's been a busy week, I tell you, and a crazy week at that with the temperatures. They're just all over the place. We might get to mid-50s during the day, and during the night we're back into the 20s. I don't really know what happened to the warmer weather we were experiencing. Just a couple weeks ago I grafted, and during that time it was warm. I transferred them into my cell builder, and things changed. We had quite a few nights in the 20s, and when it was time to go back and check my cell builder, I really wasn't expecting to see any cells at all, because I figured with the cold temperatures they just straight up abandoned the cells. But to my surprise, out of 30 grafts, 7 of them did take, and they are now in splits that I made just a couple days ago. You remember that really aggressive hive I did a video on? Yeah, well, they're now a lot weaker than they were. So today what I'd like to discuss is a few different things. First of all, the packages behind me. You remember I did a video on that last week? If you want to see that video, if you have not seen it, I'll link it up here in the corner. Anyway, I had some great comments, suggestions, and different things of that sort last week on the video. And a lot of people were concerned about the shaking of the package. I understand what you're saying. You really care for the bees. You don't want to see any of them get harmed. But at the same time, I think maybe you need to educate yourself and learn a little bit about how packages are made up. There's a lot of shaking involved. There's no way around it. It's just what it is. Try not to be so hard on yourself when you have to shake the package. It is what it is. Now, I did have a little situation where I installed the queen cage and removed a frame and left a wider void between frames than normal. That's not applying to normal bee space rules. So by adding that extra space, each package had drawn a little bit of burr comb from the inner cover or from the lid down into that extra space. One of them even took and expanded the frame and added a piece of comb onto that. So it was a little bit of a mess, but at the same time, hey, I can always use some spare wax to melt down and paint on plastic foundation. So it is what it is. You just fix the problem and go on. You surely don't want to leave the void after you notice it. So after I went around and made sure all the queens were released, I ended up putting the frame back in there, scraping off all the burr comb, and things look good now. Actually, there was one queen that I had to release. So here's a little clip of that. Check it out. There she is. A little bit darker than the rest of them. So yeah, in case you're wondering about bee space and burr comb is usually drawn in places where you've left too much space. Either you've removed a frame and left an empty void there, you stuck an inner cover on with too much space above the top of the frames and between the inner cover. A lot of times you'll see burr comb drawn on top of the frames, and that could be the issue why. So you really want to limit down the space inside the box to where it's pretty much not any bigger than a bee. I think they say 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch is the general rule. So just something to keep in mind there whenever you're doing anything inside of a bee box. I know many of us have done this. We've taken a medium frame that's been capped with nectar, got all food stores, and we'll take that and we'll use it to feed a weak colony, and we'll stick that medium frame down in a deep. A couple of weeks later we'll return, and the bees have drawn comb from the bottom of the medium down to the bottom of the box. So now when you pull it out, it's actually a full-size frame, because you've got the plastic foundation from the medium up here and the comb they've extended down at the bottom. It's rather interesting. It's a mistake, like I say. Well, maybe not a mistake, but something we all do from time to time, and then we have to go back and scrape that extra comb off the bottom of the medium frame and replace that with a deep frame. But it is a good way to feed in an emergency. So I already mentioned that I did some grafting and made some splits just the other day. Hopefully the weather provides and the queens are able to get out and get mated. And I've had a lot of people ask me in the last few days, either on Facebook Messenger or just sending me emails, do you think queens are going to get mated in this colder weather? Well, I do. I think nature has a way of working things out. I don't think we would be having swarms here in Ohio, and I haven't personally seen any, but I know other beekeepers in Ohio that have captured swarms. I don't think colonies would be swarming if there wasn't a chance of them getting mated. So that's just my 2 cents there. Gotta kind of cross my fingers and hope everything works out. You can see behind me on the middle box there in the front row, the blue box. That is my draw out box. You remember a few weeks ago I did a video on a draw out box that I'm going to use. You can either use it for cut comb honey, or you can use it those frames for mini mating nukes, and that's the option I'm going to go to. Well, a few evenings ago, while watching television with the wife, we decided while we were sitting there that we would throw some starter strip in some of those frames and make it so I could get this box on here and let the bees get started drawing it out. I'm hoping that they'll throw some nectar and some pollen and maybe a little bit of brood in there, and that'll make it really nice for my mini mating nukes. But here's what that looked like. Check it out. So this is my draw out box that I've talked a lot about here recently. I just got it painted in the last couple days, and last night the wife and I sit around and started putting starter strip in them, and we got this box completely done. So today what I'm going to do is I am going to install this on one of the packages I just recently purchased. And I think I'm going to go for the center one here in the front row, and I'm going to place it right on top of that without a queen excluder. And what I'm hoping that will happen, packages are pretty good about drawing out foundation. So what I'm hoping is they'll hop in here, start drawing out foundation. I'm hoping that they'll start to store some resources in here, acting like this is a brood box. And what I will be able to do with that is make my mini mating nukes up really easy, giving them each frames of pollen, nectar, or capped nectar, I guess, and some brood. So that would be awesome. So that's the hopes, that the bees will put all their resources, the nectar, honey, and some brood in this box, plus draw the comb out. So I'm going to get it installed on here real quick, and we'll see how it goes over the next couple weeks. Okay, so I got the draw out box installed. The only one issue I had was my setup here with my entrances, where I'm experimenting with these tubes for the small hive beetle. This was my top entrance, and I had this plate screwed to my deep over top of this slot, which at that time this lid was down here. Now that the lid has moved up, I do still have a little bit of a notch in the top of my deep. So I'm not going to notch the bottom of my draw out box, because that's not something I want to do. But I did have to lower this side of my plate that I have for my hole here. But at any rate, I think these bees are going to draw this out probably rather quickly, probably sooner than I'm thinking. And I do need to bring up a piece of tape or something to cover that hole, because if I'm using these entrances only to prevent hive beetles from entering, I surely wouldn't want to leave that open. A hive beetle could walk right into that. So I'm going to bring up a piece of tape later and close that off and go back to just these entrances. I'd also like to give a huge shout out to Super Clean. If you followed me for very long, you know I work pretty closely with Super Clean, and just this week they sent me a box of goodies. And they've now got a new hoodie, which I'm very excited to have. Don't have it on today because I'm up here at the farm and just got done with my farm chores, but I do have one and I'm very excited to have it. So huge shout out to Super Clean, and maybe that's something I'll think about here in the future on doing a giveaway on is that Super Clean hoodie. Kind of off the beekeeping topic, but I'm pretty excited. We started calving this week here on the farm, and the very first cow produced twins. We've got a bull calf and a little heifer calf. Now, in case you're not aware, whenever you have twins, if there's a female calf born, she's always a free martin. and therefore she's not able to be bred, only to be processed out. But still rather excited to see twins born on the farm, and since then 2 other cows have calves. So we're up to 4 now, and I see a couple more that could be going any day, but they seem to be holding out on me. It doesn't help any that one of them's mine, and I'm just dying to see my new calf. Oh, here's a good one. If you got some land, some wooded area, get out there and look for morels. They are popping here in Ohio. I just had a nice big plate of them last night. So just something you can do with your family to get out and enjoy the outdoors. Go out and look for some morels. I've been having my luck around apple trees. I know everybody says elm trees, but for me it's apple trees. I don't know what it is. Something about apple trees. So as you can see, folks, it's been a pretty busy week in just the beekeeping world without the calving and everyday farm life. I've got some other things that I'm working on that I'm going to be bringing to you here in the future. Next week I'm going to do a video on my homemade incubator and kind of share what that looks like and how I've made it, and just kind of go over it and share it with everybody. I know there's a lot of people out there that are interested in raising queens and they would like to finish them in the incubator. And for this reason, I'd like to share that video. I know I have one of the regular egg incubators, and it works very well. It's just a cheap one from TSC, and like I said, it does a great job. The one thing I didn't like about it is you've got to remove the whole top lid and set it to the side to get in and access your cells. And when you do that, all the heat leaves. So I wanted something that flipped down from the front that I could reach in, grab what I needed, and then flip the lid back up. And that's what I'll share with you next week. I think you're going to be rather impressed on how I threw this together, just using a aluminum deep hive body to make the casing. So make sure you tune in next week for that. And thanks for watching, folks. So if you enjoyed this video, throw me a big thumbs up, share it with your friends, and that'll help boost it in the YouTube search ranks and make it easier for other beekeepers to find. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and make sure you click on that little bell so you get notified when I release new videos. I'd also like to invite each and every one of you over and check out my Patreon page. There's some great beekeeping content over there. Some of it's free. Some of it you have to throw me some support to get access to it. But hey, throwing me some support could be a good thing, right? I mean, surely you're learning something from these videos if you keep returning. So I'd appreciate that if there's anything there you could do. If not, I understand. We are in a pandemic and money is kind of tight right now. So I completely understand that. And I appreciate you just sharing and watching my videos. So anyway, folks, we'll see you next Sunday. Thanks for watching. JC's Bees. Oh, I almost forgot. I wanted to show you my new queen marking cage I got. It's rather interesting. The way it looks is, there was no instructions. You drop the queen down in here, you push her up, and on the end of this plunger there's a little sponge so you ain't hurting the queen. You push her up against this top, and you take your queen marking pin, put a little dot on her, pull it back down, and then what I believe happens is you stick your thumb in that hole, and that holds the plunger up while she dries. Give her a couple minutes like that, pull the plunger back down, turn it, and let her walk back out into the colony. I only paid a few bucks. I think I had 13 bucks in this and a yellow marking pen. And I know you're thinking, yellow, that's not this year. Well, I don't use standard colors. I know there is a chart that everybody goes by year to year, but I'm not a big fan of the blue or the green. I don't think they stand out very well. So I only use red, white, and yellow. And I had to get a new yellow marker. But anyway, I believe that's how that works, is your thumb goes over this hole. What I do not like about it is how freely this moves back and forth. There is no restriction on it. It can't even hold itself out. So what I think I'm going to do is put an O-ring on this side and on the inside so that it has a little bit of restriction, and I have to actually force it one way or the other. Other than that, I'm relatively happy about it. I did notice also that you're able to pull these off and you could actually switch it around if that's the way you wanted it. And what that would do is allow more space for the queen on this side to dry versus being in this little area here above the hole. So anyway, just wanted to share real quick. I thought it was relatively neat. If you're interested in something like this, I'll link it down in my video description. And I've had a lot of people ask me this week, hey, where'd you get that hive tool? A lot of the stuff you see in my videos is linked down in the video description, including the hive tool and my slip-on bail. So if you're interested in those, go down there and check that out.